Learn a lot of words, use grammar, and start speaking since day one. Not. Hola caracoles y bienvenidos a Spring Spanish. Yo soy Cori, I am Cori, and I am one of the Spanish teachers here at Spring Spanish. Queridos amigos, dear friends, you won't believe how many people I see struggling to learn a language. Only because they're using a method that frankly just doesn't work. So in this video, I'm going to show you why most apps, teachers, and even textbooks are teaching you Spanish in a way that leaves you tongue-tied and frustrated, among other things. And while I do this, soy tan buena en esto, I am so good at this, that I'll show you an alternative method too. One that bypasses grammar and translating in your head, an alternative that you've been not so secretly using here at Spring Spanish and that you can start using right away. ¡Comencemos! Before I go further, we publish 5 weekly Spanish lessons on our YouTube channel, so make sure to click on the subscribe button and the bell so you won't miss a lesson. Here is how most people learn Spanish. Paso 1. Step 1. Just learn a lot of words. There are some people that say that by knowing the 1,000 most frequent Spanish words, you'll understand 85% of Spanish. Paso 2. Step 2. Learn some grammar and use them to piece sentences together. And then just do grammar drills until you get it right. Over and over again. Sin parar. Don't stop. Paso 3. Step 3. Mi favorito. My favorite. Start speaking Spanish from day 1. People will understand you. You'll get over your fear of speaking. You'll learn, and soon you'll start speaking fluently. ¿Has escuchado estos consejos antes? Have you heard this advice before? Y lo más importante, most importantly, have you been learning languages like this before? You probably have. If so, you can also confirm that this just doesn't work well. Here is why this is the worst advice. Even if in the best case scenario, you get over tu miedo al hablar, your fear of speaking, and you manage to memorize some Spanish words, you might have noticed that when you try speaking, incluso si sabes palabras y reglas gramaticales, even if you know words and grammar rules, it takes you ages to construct sentences. You draw a blank and you're translating it in your head. Y te sientes torpe and you feel clumsy. And most of the time, you don't even understand what natives are saying, even if you memorize the 1,000 most common words used. ¿Por qué? Why? Well, because you simply don't know yet what a natural, correct Spanish sentence looks like. Pregúntale a cualquier hablante nativo. Ask any native speaker. The way they talk with each other, or any language for that matter, just can be fully broken down to abstract grammar and vocabulary. That's just a categorization linguists created. Languages are not math. It's like having all the ingredients para un pastel delicioso or a delicious cake, and even a step-by-step recipe to bake something like this. But you end up baking something que se ve y sabe, that looks and tastes more like this. I'm sure you felt like that before, trying to say something in Spanish and just thinking, was that correct Spanish? Or did I just throw some words together with some dubious grammar? Vamos, admítelo. Go on, admit it. You've thought that before, right? Aquí es donde se pone peligroso. Here is where it gets dangerous. To make up for your lack of knowledge of what Spanish looks like beyond words and grammar rules, you'll be trying to make sentences with the only frame of reference your brain already has: English sentences, or any other language if English is not your mother tongue. Lo que significa, which means you are literally translating English sentences palabra por palabra, word for word into Spanish. Seguro lo has hecho antes, ¿verdad? You've done that before, right? Thinking in English and trying to translate into Spanish? This obviously leads to tons of mistakes, and sometimes natives don't even understand what you're trying to say. You're basically inventing your own version of Spanish based on some words, some grammar you have forgotten already, and your English. Y estos errores son pegajosos. And these mistakes are sticky. Very, very sticky. By lack of alternative, they get imprinted on your brain. They literally fossilize. And it's super difficult to get rid of them later. No suena bien, ¿verdad? That doesn't sound good, does it? The alternative? Chunking. Now, quick poll. Who wants to have a fossilized brain making beginner mistakes all their life? If there is an alternative that can help you have fluent, natural Spanish sentences roll off the tongue and impress native speakers, you choose the alternative, wouldn't you? Well, here is how the alternative works. You don't have to invent brand new Spanish sentences with words and grammar rules. Millions of native speakers out there are speaking Spanish every single day in full, natural, correct sentences without having to learn grammar. Por cierto, más de eso en un minuto. By the way, more of that in a minute. You're not the first person trying to say tengo frío o tengo hambre o quiero unos tacos. I'm cold or I'm hungry or I want some tacos. The good news, you can just tap into these sentences that native speakers use to sound like a native speaker yourself. And the better news, if you listen really careful to what they say, how they say it, the exact word combinations they use, linguists call them chunks, and then start using these exact same word combinations, or again, chunks, while speaking Spanish, there will be no mistakes that can be imprinted and fossilized in your brain. The only thing that gets imprinted or fossilized is the chunk in correct natural Spanish. Eso ya suena mucho mejor, ¿verdad? That sounds much better already, right? Wouldn't you prefer having correct native-like Spanish fossilized in your brain? Hay algunos beneficios más de aprender español de esta manera. There are some more benefits of learning Spanish like this. You won't need to remember grammar. Después de todo, after all, if you heard someone say it correctly and you say the exact same thing, sabes que lo que estás diciendo es correcto. You know what you're saying is correct. And here is the very, very best news. I and the other Spring Spanish teachers have been secretly teaching you Spanish that way, through chunks. Chunking examples. Here is one of my older videos where I said, Odio los lunes, I hate Mondays. But literally translated, I say, I hate the Mondays. How would you know that you have to add los? Bueno, no lo sabes. Well, you don't. There's no grammar rules for it, at least not that I'm aware. So your words and grammar brain will make you say odio lunes, I hate Mondays, literally translated from English. That mistake will then get fossilized in your brain. Lo seguirías diciendo. You will keep saying it. And no matter how often people will try to correct you, it will be really difficult to stop saying it. Afortunadamente para ti, luckily for you, you've seen and heard that native speakers say, odio los lunes. So you know that it's correct and you can say it yourself too without even thinking about it. Would you agree with me that you can speak correct Spanish like this without even knowing the grammar rule behind it? Claro que sí, of course. And I'm sure you can see that if you wanted to say I hate Tuesdays and you know Tuesday is martes, then you'd said odio los martes, right? Tan fácil como eso. As easy as that. Think about it. Can you see yourself using that in real life? Maybe you see yourself saying odio los lunes while dragging yourself out of bed on a Monday, complaining to your husband or wife or colleagues at work. In fact, I want you to say this exact chunk sometime in the coming days, solo por el simple hecho de hacerlo, just for the sake of it, and to prove to yourself the power of this way of learning Spanish. Can you commit to me and to yourself to use odio los lunes at least once in the coming week? Let me know in the comments. Recapitulemos. Let's recap. Trying to speak Spanish by memorizing words and grammar rules will only make you translate in your head and feel clumsy, insecure. Here at Spring Spanish, we think that's the worst method for learning Spanish. Learning through chunks is a much faster way to speak fluent Spanish. You can start already by watching all our videos and paying attention to the chunks we teach. Pero si todavía estás un poco confundido, but if you're still a bit confused about how to put this into practice, I invite you to register for the free chunking training that's available on the Spring Spanish website. In that training, you'll discover a 4-step method to use chunking to have fluent Spanish sentences roll off the tongue. It will also help you make the most of all our YouTube videos. Sign up for it by clicking the link in the description. Mientras tanto, meanwhile, I'd love to hear from you what your favorite Spanish chunk is. Maybe you've noticed some other chunks in these videos or in our other videos. Let me know in the comments. Y si este video te gustó, and if you like this video, leave me a thumbs up. And that was all for today. I hope you had fun. Yo definitivamente me divertí. I certainly did. And gracias totales. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and share the video with your friends.